Good afternoon and happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your day without your favorite math teacher. So we're going to try to make this quick. We'll get through the examples quickly. Today we're going to talk about the distributive property, something that hopefully you guys have at least heard of. Hopefully this will kind of start sounding familiar. What the distributive property tells me is that if I have a number multiplied by a quantity, I can distribute that number on the outside of the parentheses to whatever's inside the parentheses. Now, when we distribute, it's important to remember that we are multiplying. So instead of taking A times the quantity B plus C, I can distribute that A, and it's the same thing as AB plus AC. And notice that second one down there, the only difference is that there's a subtraction sign in the parentheses, which just means I'm going to have a subtraction sign separating my terms. Okay, so once again, hopefully this is something that you guys have learned in the past, but let's go ahead and go over some. Okay, so the directions are going to say for each expression, write an equivalent expression without parentheses. So that's kind of the goal here, is to get rid of the parentheses. Okay, so first one, if I have 3 times the quantity x plus 2. A lot of these are going to be really simple. To get rid of those parentheses, I'm going to distribute that 3. So I now have 3x plus 3 times 2 gives me 6. That's really all you have to do. Good practice to just kind of double check, make sure it's actually completely simplified, which that would be. Number 2, let's try 3 times the quantity j minus k. Okay, so if I take that 3 and distribute it, we would have 3j minus 3k. I cannot combine those two together, so we would just leave it like that. That would be my answer. Number 3, if I have 2x plus 3y, that's going to be in parentheses. This time I'm going to put the 5 at the end. Looks different, but guys, it does the exact same thing. You distribute the 5 to whatever's inside the parentheses. 5 times 2x gives me 10x. 5 times 3y gives me 15y. Okay, distributive property, just keep in mind we are multiplying. Okay, the next couple of examples are something that you probably already know how to do, but this is kind of one of those things that you already know how to do these kind of things, and since you already know how to do it, it's kind of cool to break it down and to figure out why we're actually able to do that. So if my expression says 3a plus 7 plus 5a, well, we kind of learned earlier that we can rearrange this. I could put the 3a plus 5a plus 7, and you guys probably already know that I can combine that 3a and the 5a together, but let's talk about why we're able to do this. Why you're able to do that is because you're kind of using the reverse of the distributive property. I don't have anything to distribute, but if I rewrite that 3a plus 5a, it could be considered the same thing as a times 3 plus 5, right? Because if I were to redistribute that a, I would get 3a plus 5a. Okay, and then, well, 3 plus 5, that gives me 8a plus 7. Okay, once again, you guys would probably do that without using the distributive property, but kind of cool to point out why we're able to combine like terms the way that we do. Let's do one more like that, and then we won't have to show those steps anymore. Let's try 8y minus 7y plus 4. Okay, notice my y's are already next to each other, so we're going to use the reverse distributive property. Notice these both have a y in common. So if I were to distribute a y to an 8 minus 7, I would get that expression above, okay? Well, an 8 minus 7 is 1, so we'd have 1y plus 4, or you could just write y plus 4. You don't really need that 1. If you want to write it, no problem. Okay, just a few more examples here. Let's try number 7. Okay, number 7, we have 3 times the quantity a minus 7 minus 4. Okay, so first thing I've got to do, I've got to distribute that 3. So remember, we're multiplying. So I have 3a minus 21. And then I have that minus 4. Notice I did not distribute that 3 to the 4 because that 4 is not in parentheses. It does not get multiplied. Okay, so from here, we could go through, change all these subtraction signs to addition signs by adding the opposite and adding the opposite. And then I see that negative 21 plus a negative 4 would give me negative 25. And then we have that 3a out front. So I have 3a minus 25. Okay, number 8. Try another one of those. 5 times the quantity y plus 3 plus 7y. Okay, this time let's distribute the 5. Once again, don't distribute to the 7y. That 7y is not in the parentheses. When I distribute the 5, I get 5y plus 15, and then that 7y is just hanging out back there. Use the kind of the reverse distributive property, or we kind of already know how to combine like terms. 5y plus 12y would give me 12y, and I have that 15 at the end. Okay, just 2 more ones, kind of like the last ones, just a little bit extra on top of them. Number 9, let's try 9 times the quantity a plus b plus 4 times the quantity 3a plus 2b. Okay, this time I have 2 things to distribute. So if I start with that 9, I'm going to get 9a plus 9b. And then if I go and distribute the 4 to that second one, 4 times 3a gives me 12a. 4 times 2b gives me 8b. And then we would need to go back, combine like terms. So I have 9a plus 12a gives me 21a. And then 9b plus 8b gives me 17b. Okay, and last one here, going to be kind of like that one right above there. Number 10. 7 times the quantity c plus 2d plus 8, and then close parentheses, plus 3 times the quantity 9c minus 2. Okay, now notice in this one, in this first set of parentheses here, there's 3 terms. Okay, well, guess what? The distributive property can also be applied to something that looks like this. I just have to make sure I distribute that 7 all 3 places. So that turns into a 7c plus 14d plus 56. Okay, and then I would need to distribute that 3, and I would get 27c minus 6. Okay, and going through to combine like terms, 7c plus 21c gives me 34c. 14d, nothing else to combine together with that, so it's just going to stay 14d. And then I have plus 56 minus 6, which just gives me 50. So your answer should be 34c plus 14d plus 50.